Good morning, everybody. In New South Wales to 8 p.m. last night, we had 152,000 tests done across the state, which we're very grateful for. Keep up those testing rates. We had 452 cases of community transmission, and we know that at least 50 of those would be infectious in the community, with a number of cases still under investigation. Tragically, overnight, we had the death of a female in her late 70s at Westmead Hospital who was unvaccinated, and we extend our deepest condolences to her loved ones and know what a difficult time they're going through. In relation to the suburbs of concern, obviously in Greater Sydney, southwestern and western Sydney remain the generators of most of the cases, and in particular, we want to call out the following 7 suburbs, and we ask everybody in those suburbs to be especially careful, not to leave home unless you have to, and please come forward for vaccination. Blacktown, Seven Hills, Marylands, Guildford, Auburn, Bankstown and Greenacre. In regional New South Wales, Western New South Wales remains of enormous concern around West Dubbo, Walgett and also in Bourke. And of course, there are extra supports being sent to Western New South Wales to make sure we get on top of the cases there. Can I also say that in relation to vaccinations, New South Wales continues to power ahead, and can I thank everybody for coming forward and getting vaccinated. We've hit the mark of 5.2 million jabs in New South Wales, so we're well on our way of getting to 6 million jabs by the end of August. Can I thank everybody who's come forward? That is an outstanding effort. And we now have nearly 52% of our population across the state with at least one jab. And we're really keen for everybody to look up their suburb, which is now publicly available, to see what the vaccination rate is in your suburb. We're especially keen to make sure the vaccination rate is higher and remains high in Western and Southwestern Sydney. And that is why in the next 3 weeks we will have a vaccination blitz, and Susan Pearce from Health, who has the great job of rolling out our vaccinations, will give a more detailed report. But obviously we want to see everybody between the ages of 16 and 39 in those local government areas of concern come forward for the jab. And I understand whether it's authorised workers or others, there's been several thousand bookings made already, because we know that once you get your first dose in 2 or 3 weeks' time, the chance of you getting the virus and passing it on to others is substantially reduced, and that is so critical. In addition to that cohort of authorised worker and younger people, in fact today, I can say that in the last 24 hours, 75% of our cases in New South Wales were people under 40. And that's why those extra jabs that we've received from the Commonwealth will be put straight into the arms of 16 to 39-year-olds in those local government areas of concern. That will protect them and their loved ones, but also protect anyone coming into contact with them in our workplace. And that is critical. It will also curb the infectiousness of the disease in those communities, which is so important. Can I also do a special call out for everybody across New South Wales who's over 70 years of age? The vaccination rates are okay in that age group. They're between 70 and 80% depending on the community you're in, but we want to see that higher. We want to make sure that older members of our community are protected, and so no matter where you live, no matter your circumstances, if you're over 70, please go to a New South Wales site, or if you live in the regions, contact your GP or your pharmacist or your local area health service to find out where the closest place is you can go and get a jab. I also wanted to make a few points about our vaccination strategy. Obviously, we're very keen to make sure we hit the 70% double dose and 80% double dose targets. Now, at this stage, those targets will be met at the end of October for 70% double dose and mid-November for 80% double dose. And I want to make this very, very important point, that life will be much freer than what it is today once we get to 70% and 80%. It doesn't mean we'll be completely free. It doesn't mean that we will let the virus be rampant in the community, no matter our number of cases, but it will be freer than what it is today. And I really want to stress that point. We also gave an undertaking that in September and October, which will be our most difficult months, there's no doubt that September and October, until we get to that 70% double dose, the challenge for us as a team, as a government in New South Wales will be, how can we keep our citizens safe and as free as possible during those difficult months? And once we get to 6 million jabs, we will be able to consider opportunities for what we might be able to do in September and October that we can't currently do. And I want to make that very clear. Does it mean we'll be living completely freely? No. But does it mean we'll be freer than what we're living today? Absolutely. And that's why I say to everybody, please feel encouraged to get vaccinated. Please feel encouraged to make sure you respect the health orders and the lockdown. And we envisage that case numbers in the next 2 or 3 weeks will bounce around and are likely to go up substantially. And we have to brace ourselves for that. But our key aim will be keeping people out of hospital and keeping people alive. And that's why the vaccination rate obviously helps us with that. Of course, we need to see case numbers come down. And once Susan Pearce gives you the update of how many people we're jabbing in those areas of concern in the next 2 or 3 weeks, that means that 2 or 3 weeks after people have been vaccinated, they will be protected, more protected in getting the virus, but also less likely to transmit to a high number of people. So please know that whilst we look forward to living life much more freely, where we're at with the case numbers in 70% or 80% will determine how free we are. But please know there will be extra freedoms than what we have today. And that is an absolute assurance. And once we get to 6 million jabs, we'll be calling upon Dr. Chan, who's already started to make considerations of what we can allow people to do who are vaccinated, and that's why I ask people to make sure they get vaccinated. There'll be opportunities for us to consider what things we'll be able to offer the community in September and October, which will be our most challenging months. And I just thank the community for the way in which you've responded to date. The vast majority of people are doing the right thing, and that's definitely the reaction and the feedback we're having from police on the ground. But as we know, even in other states, it only takes a handful of people on a couple of occasions to do the wrong thing, and we have setbacks. And our job through the extra police efforts is to reduce those setbacks, to make sure that we're not held back because a handful of people in a handful of situations are doing the wrong thing.